Wonderful. Well, thank you all for joining. My name is Matt. I'm the founder of Woven. We're a enterprise workforce management system for multi-unit gyms and fitness facilities in the wellness space. We help with all your people, processes, and maintenance. I am joined today by Dave Johnson with Ecofit. How you doing, Dave?
Good. Thanks, Matt. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining today. Looking forward to a good conversation. As Matt said, I'm one of the founders of Ecofit. We got going, wow, way back in 2011. Over the years, we've developed a solution that tracks usage information from literally all of your main assets on the gym floor. So cardio, strength equipment, Black Card now. We work with many of the leading gym brands, and we partner with almost all of the main equipment manufacturers and integrate with them. So I'm looking forward to having a good conversation about equipment health and how that helps you with member retention.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we get into this, Dave, excited to kind of talk about where different platforms complement and integrate together. Because at the end of the day, right, it's all about growth and how we drive more members, right, for clubs, for our mutual customers, both retaining them, attracting new ones, and doing that through healthier equipment. So why don't we go ahead and dive in and talk a little bit about state of the industry?
Sure, Matt. Um, So as always, member churn is a real thing, and you always say that it's easy. It's a lot more cost effective to keep existing members than to have to acquire new ones. And this slide kind of says it all. I think everyone's probably familiar with the stats about churn, but what a lot of people don't realize is how much of an impact having the right equipment on the floor, having it available, and keeping it operational means to the fitness industry. Members are there to use your equipment. There's so many options available for them today, and so many top operators. So this is absolutely key. We do a lot of work with MXM, Medallia, pulling in net promoter scores to understand the effects of equipment being broken or not available to members. And we've pulled well, MXM has pulled literally thousands of gyms and millions of members um, to reveal how critical this is to it. And it's the turnaround time on maintenance as well. So Matt, you and I have talked about this, having out of order signs within a club and the negative connotation around that. If you're walking a new prospect through the gym and you got signs all over out of order, and that's increasingly frustrating to existing members too that look up and see that the equipment's still down. So, it's absolutely equipment is member experience for sure. Another big component too, not just the fitness equipment, but Black Card these days. If someone does a workout and they go to the recovery zone and they want to access their recovery, it's a big part of their gym experience, and that's almost even more impactful in terms of the negativity. Quite often, if there's a piece of broken fitness equipment, there's an alternative or an option to them. And with Black Card, that's often not the case. So if someone can't go and, complete their workout in the Black Card area with their recovery options, it compounds this issue.
Yeah, no, for sure. I always view this when I haven't been quite in the fitness industry as long as you have. I think I'm approaching about 15 years now. But one of the things that kind of befuddled me when I was getting started in this industry, we were starting to add the maintenance facility and equipment management to Woven was these clubs would spend just a couple $1 million in equipment to then kind of just move on and not really put in the processes and the systems to make sure that that equipment was staying top notch. And I kind of viewed this as almost like a spiral, like a lost revenue spiral, where clubs all of a sudden, you start losing members. They're starting to see more down equipment. You're not attracting as many. You don't have the revenue then to come and do a re-equip or a refresh when that time comes to get the latest equipment. You don't have the resources to do the proper maintenance program. And then that leads to, again, further degradation. And it just kind of spirals down. And it's the exact opposite flywheel effect that you want in a club, right? You want more members. You want to retain members longer. You want to attract new ones. You want that word of mouth. You want that incremental revenue gain. off of all their interactions within the club, and that revenue fuels your ability to adapt as equipment changes. It fuels your ability to invest in a maintenance program that's keeping that equipment up and in top shape for the members, which just then again is the flywheel you do want, right? It's the flywheel up. So excited to kind of talk about where we see from Woven's perspective where this starts, right? And Dave, for us, it's always the table stakes of reactive maintenance, right? This is where, depending on the organizational size, everybody is on a spectrum here, regardless if you're a single location all the way up through enterprise. Generally, what we see is that as you start out, you're kind of throwing it together, right? You just open the doors, kind of a little bit of ad hoc. You're using a lot of external vendors, a lot of text messages, emails. You're just kind of making it work. And as growth compounds and you start opening up additional clubs, typically we'll see a need for some type of systemization. You'll typically start seeing spreadsheets and other types of tools being used to track this as they grow. And ultimately, as they scale into an enterprise, and it's really where these teams, as you employ internal maintenance teams, you need to start holding them accountable. And this is where systems to help manage all of this, integrate with all your vendors and manufacturers, and drive that accountability and ROI really starts kicking in.
It's funny, Matt, that you're talking about the early stage. It always surprises me how many multi-unit operators, when I'm first speaking with them, I ask them what they do to manage their assets, what they have for inventory management, and basic spreadsheets at best for some of them. And these are operators with millions and millions of dollars of assets. So a lot of people are still in early stages.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest, and I won't call anybody out, but it's not uncommon actually to see organizations that have scaled into the 30s and the 50 locations that are still relying on the same processes and approaches that they got started with, right?
Yeah.
They just haven't felt the pain, or they're starting to feel the pain. That's generally where we're starting to talk to these 20 to 30 and up groups that don't have an existing maintenance piece of software system, is that they've just now started to experience some of the growing pains of not being able to track their downtime, and they're feeling it in their membership retention. So it's not unusual. Everybody is, again, in some stage of this, both intentionally or not, right? But let's talk a little bit about like reactive maintenance again. I don't want to dwell on this too much. This is the table stakes, right? Like, this is where you need to fix broken stuff. I think we all know that. But there's a difference from just getting stuff eventually fixed and then actually excelling at this, really building the systems and the processes to continuously improve and reduce the downtime as much as possible. So 3 quick tips and things that both Woven we deploy with our customers and we see as best practices within our customer base. First one's around automation. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. There's a few quick hitters about intelligently routing requests directly from the submitter to the person that needs it. The days of having a manual dispatcher are gone. If you're waiting on a manual dispatcher to put eyes on a ticket that came in and then email it or forward that on to somebody else, right? That is just additional time that out of order signs hanging on that piece of equipment unnecessarily. But it's also things like dynamic prioritization, where based on the equipment mix, a certain percentage of that equipment down may dictate that the priority changes, may get higher. And even passing through pictures and notes and other things to the appropriate parties, all without a human touch. Every time that a ticket needs to be touched by a human or waits on a human, you are just stretching out that time to resolution. The second part is about, depending on the severity or the impact of the equipment, should be targeting 48 hours or less. And obviously more critical stuff gets a much tighter turnaround time, 8 hours or less. But really, we see that as the standard of all types of tickets, even on the more medium priority stuff, is 48 hours or less. And one thing we want to point out here is the gap time. And this is what we talk to our customers about, is there is in multi-unit operations and multi-unit clubs, there's a real problem with what we call the see something, say something effect, which is you'll have members, you'll have your front desk and your operations teams see something, but not have the means or the ability to report it to the appropriate person or to get it into the system. They have to put a sticky note on the manager's desk or something, and then when the manager's back from a day off or something, the next day they'll report it. That is time that's not measured in any system you have. However, it is time that your members noticing it. And last but not least, is making sure that whatever system you are using is passing through the right information, the timely information to the right party so that your technicians, even your vendors, are arriving on site ready to fix the equipment. Should be shooting for that 90+% first time fix rate. You don't want those multiple trips because, again, if they get on site, that was just trip time that they weren't somewhere else. They're unable to fix it. They got to, then ship something, come back the next day. It's all time that both that piece of equipment is down, but more importantly, it's time that they're not working on something else, right? It's time that they're not bringing another piece of equipment up, so it does compound. But as table stakes go, this is pretty straightforward. What's really exciting, and Dave, we're going to spend most of the rest of this time together, is around preventative. How do you actually move out of the just reacting to when things break to how do you get proactive in nature and prevent the things from breaking and having downtime to begin with? I'm going to take a quick kind of pass at this from the way Woven sees this, which is how do we operationalize this? How do you bring all of this work for your maintenance team into a unified dashboard? How do you create recurring checklists and other things so you make sure you're staying warranty compliant? And most excitingly, Dave, is how do what I guess we're excited about and what we are empowering now with your help, you're going to talk a little bit more about this, is moving away from interval and schedule based preventative maintenance. That's the old school. You're going to go in and you're going to put hands on 32 treadmills just because it's been 120 days since the last time you did it, or whatever your interval is, and moving more towards putting hands on and focusing on just the ones that have had the usage that requires it. Again, going back to that efficiency, freeing up those resources to focus on what they actually need to be doing versus just a bunch of busy work. So, Dave, I'd love to kind of loop you in here and talk a little bit about how we're powering that and Ecofit's role in it.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Obviously, you need data to power it. So well, I'm going to take a step back, and the people that are on today may not know Ecofit or some of the background on the company. But when we got started back in 2011, as you all know, we're now in the age of connectivity. Everyone's coming to the gym space with connected solutions. Well, back in the day when we got started, it was almost non-existent, and in fact, Wi-Fi was not really established in gyms and is still very challenging in a big, busy gym environment. Um, and long-range Bluetooth didn't even exist. So we embarked on developing a system that was cross-brand, so it would be compatible with all the main brands of equipment. But we could also get data from all of the main assets, so not just cardio, where we have data ports we tag into, but we've built an accelerometer solution for selectorized, multi-station, even benches and racks. So what Ecofit can do is we can come in and build out a network specifically for your gym. It's a long-range wireless protocol. We have a lot of IP in this. So we can put, one receiver down to, a typical large, club like a Planet Fitness and EOS. We'll just need one receiver and we can network over 500 pieces of equipment to that receiver. So then we gather the data and process it in a very stable environment. Well, what's happened over the years, as everyone knows, is the manufacturers and Black Card and all these other devices coming also provide connectivity. So we not only gather data now for analytics and servicing from our own hardware, but we partner and bring data in from many other sources. And we're furthering some of our partnerships with manufacturers now to provide real-time error codes, amperage draws, information like that, which we can use to pump into your system to Woven for servicing and real-time turnaround. And this is actually how we met. Is Matt, one of our biggest customers, was using both of our solutions and said to us, we won't mention any names, but a large multi-unit operator. He said, "Wow, this is what you guys both do. You're best in class in the industry here. You guys should get together and talk."
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of where it all got started. And it's been, we'll talk about it throughout, but yeah, it's been really interesting what they've been able to do, moving from manual, heavy amount of both their operations and maintenance teams, and just data input and management of things to now, how things are just flowing and automated. But yeah, I'll give it back to you because I know you're going to talk a little bit more about some of the cool things with the equipment that is now natively connected.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And our goal here obviously is to, as opposed to being reactive, we want to be proactive, continuous monitoring of equipment, alerts, 0-day waits, and not just for fitness equipment, for black card as well. So, one of the things though that we're starting to really flag for operators, as I said, we are now in the age of connectivity, and a lot of clubs embarking on a network roadmap to start to add connected products into their clubs. They're encountering something that I think quite often has been overlooked, and that is we're not quite often now you're not buying just fitness equipment. You're buying computers that go on your fitness equipment. So these connected consoles and these connected devices, I always say it's like having, a laptop in your house. Every now and then it's going to drop off the network, or the network's going to disappear completely. So part of what we were doing and being proactive and working with Matt and his team on is, if you have connected devices in your club, you have to keep them connected. There's streaming content on these consoles that your members are using. And so that system health, our system will send out notifications when we lost connectivity or if the API has gone down, because members, more bells, more whistles on this equipment can mean more bells and whistles to break down. So system health and keeping your connected environment healthy to be able to provide not just the utilization and the asset management data, but the functions and features of our systems is absolutely critical. And many people don't even know that until they're in this environment. So system health is something that we work very closely with Woven and with our gym partners on, that are buying connected equipment, Matt.
Yeah. And it's easy to overlook such a thing, Dave, too, because it's just kind of like, oh yeah, we connected at one time, but we talk all the time the fact that like even our mutual customers, they come to us and they're like, hey, like why isn't this treadmill or piece of equipment reading data, and we come to find out, well, it's dropped connectivity, and you didn't, there was an alert you didn't look at, right? And so it just goes back to the fact that that data needs to flow, right? The data needs to flow and it needs to be connected. And it's such a foundational and important piece of it.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. The other thing that we're working in feeding through to you, Woven, as we've talked about, is error codes, and other status notifications. But I want to pause and talk about error codes for just a second. As we partner with the manufacturers, as I said, Ecofit has deep integrations with many of the manufacturers. They're starting to provide us with more advanced data sets, and real-time error codes are one that we're really excited about. What the purpose of this is, if something triggers an error code that is what we call an A level, so we have a filter, we only want to feed through to you at Woven, Matt, notifications that need immediate attention. In other words, the equipment could be further damaged. It's not functioning, or worse, someone might get hurt if there's a speed sensor or a brake resistance issue. So we'll trigger these and send them off in real time. But the turnaround time on servicing with notifications like this is obviously much more efficient. The error code typically comes out with a description for the technician, the exact piece of equipment on the floor, obviously. But then, the troubleshooting around it and what they most likely can expect the issue to be, so they can show up uh, before a member reports it in a lot of cases with the right information and hopefully the right parts to fix it on the spot. And so these error codes we're furthering. We've started on basic levels, but deeper integrations with manufacturing partners, Matt, as you know, means that we can really start to work and develop these tools and these error code notifications.
Absolutely.
Um,
Uh, I
So
was I was going to ask about status notifications. Is actually what, as a tech nerd myself, actually amazes me the most, because it's easy to take error codes, which are an event. It's something that becomes real, and you can do something about it. I love your status notification stuff and what we're doing there, because it's always harder to see data in the void. But yeah, sorry.
yeah, no, thank you. You're right. The status notifications, quite often when something goes wrong with a piece of fitness equipment or there's no error codes, like with strength equipment, the status notifications and the status notifications, what we've done is we've flagged equipment based on our utilization algorithms that mean we want you to check it on the floor. Some of those are very basic, they're time based, and so if you haven't heard from a piece of equipment in a period of 24, 48, 72 hours, you can actually set that for the equipment group on the facility level. So if someone has not used a treadmill in 24 hours, Mr. Technician, please check it. It means, one of two things normally. Either we've lost connectivity, it could be a sensor issue, a Wi-Fi connectivity issue, or the equipment's not working properly, or it's just not been used. But typically in a busy club, everything's getting used. So that can send out a notification to check it on the floor. And the other one we have, which is, we call our early warning system, is when we get abnormal usage patterns from a piece of equipment. And 90% of the time indicates members are getting on the equipment, they're using the equipment, something's not quite right with it, and could be any of a million things. The quick start button isn't working, there's the upholstery is torn, the pot pin isn't working. But for whatever reason, we're seeing low use. Typically, it's flagged with low usage. And when we see enough of that, we'll send out a notification. And techs using our system all the time said we would have had no idea that there was something wrong with that equipment if you had not have flagged it with this. So these status notifications are a great tool for staying on top of and being proactive with equipment that's not acting normally on the floor.
Sure. And kind of circling back around to the preventative side, because a lot of this stuff is actually being proactive with reactive issues, right? So something's happened and we're just trying to shorten the gap time, right? We're just trying to get it into the maintenance tech's list and priority before a member has to notice it and report it. But back on the proactive side, let's talk a little bit about, and again, this is just going into that preventative maintenance, usage-based servicing versus the kind of blanket touch every single piece of equipment in the category every X amount of days. Talk a little bit about this, and I can add in the woven side of it for sure, but I'll let you kick this one off.
Yeah, I mean, well, we obviously we work with usage data coming off of fitness equipment, so we're keenly aware of imbalances within the club on equipment usage. Equipment that is just easier to get to if you've got a cardio group is the classic, case where there's equipment that's much easier to access. It's at the front of the row. It's in a more desirable spot, and you'll see 10, 15, 20 times the usage on that equipment. And so as we say, we try to get our customers from an efficiency perspective to switch from time-based servicing, where their groups, their techs go in and do everything, whether they need it or not, to usage-based servicing. And the efficiencies around to be achieved around this are remarkable. So you can have notifications based on usage that we can feed through to Matt that can get that woven for triggering. Say you've got 20 treadmills on the floor and you don't want to go and do some servicing and say till 10 to 15 of them need it. Well, you can have a system set up, a usage-based notification system that can flag it saying, okay, it's time to go in there, but these are the ones we need to service. So, I mean, there's all sorts of efficiencies you can achieve there with a program like this.
Yeah, and it's honest. It's not even the efficiencies just with the maintenance team. The efficiencies the maintenance team can get out of it are fairly obvious. But when you get into like the black card and some of the more recovery amenities, where the operations team is already spending time to manually track or pull data to put into some spreadsheet that hopefully eventually gets to the maintenance team, right? Like we're even seeing in our customers, our mutual customers, is that they're saving a ton of time just by eliminating or removing the ops team needing to do that, right? So there's also savings of time and efficiencies on the ops side, not just the maintenance team.
Yeah. Yeah. And not to mention, obviously, the downtime removed from high usage servicing, or high service equipment breaking down consistently. Like you're nipping that right in the bud.
Yeah, for sure. So outside of the tactical applications of this, Dave, right? So we have talked about how do you react before your members see, right? How do you use status notifications and alerts and other types of warnings off your equipment and your data to trigger your maintenance techs to go take a look. We talked a little bit about how to use usage data, as we were just talking about now, on how to trigger preventative maintenance in a targeted fashion to save time and efficiencies. Let's talk a little bit about the strategic use of this, right? Like zoom out of just the maintenance, putting hands on equipment, and think about this from the broader perspective of how this can be used within a club.
Yeah, I mean there's some low hanging, and there's some ones that are more involved than we work with over time. For instance, we're going to talk a little bit about optimizing your fleet, making sure you have the right equipment on the floor and staying on top of it. But one of the ones that we're seeing more and more these days is best management practices around equipment balancing. We call it smart rotation. And typically, I mean, and this is people have been talking about this for years, obviously, but the challenges without data stored in the cloud, are quite often you don't have accurate data on the equipment. If someone's come in and maintained the equipment, the lower board, a console's replaced, you lose all the data on the equipment. And there's also the manual nature of it before you had cloud-based data or data, that we can serve up in an automated fashion, so to speak, where a tech would have to go in, get on the treadmill, pull the data, write it down, go back and build a plan. Well, we have a file we feed through to Woven, that takes your highest usage equipment and your lowest usage equipment. And we're not trying to make this a make work project. It's a pretty smart system where typically you only need to do these rotations, once, maybe twice in the equipment group's life. And quite often, there's only 4 or 5 pieces in a group of 25 or 30 treadmills that you need to rotate. It's the high and the low usage, and huge benefits to this. And we're seeing a lot more people, our clients, do this now that we have this process, delivered to them in such a clean report.
And
Um,
that one, yep, go for it.
no, 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 you go ahead. I thought you had something to add.
Nope, I was going to just defer to you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I did want to talk a little bit about, some of the things we're seeing with our systems now that makes maintenance even more important is optimizing a floor mix. A big part of Eco, if we get cherry picked all the time, we do a lot with feeding data through to our partners at Woven, obviously for servicing, but we also are used really heavily for equipment analytics and usage for cardio, strength, black card. Our system has very, very smart, intuitive, easy to use reports that tell you when you need more of this or less of that. We have wait times on cardio groups, and we have trends on strength equipment that takes into account as much as we can, dwell time and members using smartphones and occupying equipment when it's not in use. So we work really carefully or really closely with our customers to optimize their floor mix and make sure they stay on trend. But when you've got the right floor mix and everyone's using it on the floor and it's optimized, um, staying on top of it is even more important. And what I mean by that is if you've got your treadmill honed down to, okay, we need 25 treadmills on the floor, for instance, that means that during busy times, almost all of them are in use. Maybe one or two are available, but you don't have the luxury of in days past where there was maybe too much equipment on the floor, you didn't have the visibility of it. You're going to have good utilization. So it's key that it's all working properly because it's all going to be used. So having an optimized floor mix is obviously key for member retention. You got the right equipment on the floor, everyone's using it, but it's even more important that you stay on top of the servicing, Matt.
Absolutely. It's always amuses me the compounding effect of all this, right? Is as you get more sophisticated and more dialed in, it just makes the other foundational pieces that much more important in order to keep that, the greater machine going.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to talk a little bit. Everyone always asks about cost and ROI.
Yeah.
And I'd like to spend a bit of time on the business case. What can you expect to
Yeah, let's jump in and do
stay
it.
or make out of this. And we talked earlier about obviously member churn and keeping your members and the expense of it. But we also like to hammer out some meat and potato costs when we're working with the equipment. And so this study here was we normalized this across 100 pieces of equipment. This is an Ecofit install. We like to say that an average install, there's an average install, but this is based on 100 pieces of equipment networked with our hardware, um, and over a 5 to 7 year equipment life. Procurement savings, if you fine tune your buy and you've got the right stuff on the floor, you're looking at saving, $8,000. Rotation plans, best management practices, high usage servicing, easily 11 to $12,000, and extending your cardio equipment life by 2 years. That's a minimum of what you can expect to get with an equipment balancing plan. Floor space optimization. Often there's wasted space when you've got the wrong equipment on the floor and too much of it. So what can you use that floor space for creating revenue? And this the next one, Matt, is definitely more in your area, but we've actually worked with gyms on, and we've got, data to back what the service efficiencies of using our system combined with your tools can provide. And so the savings there are just based on technician time and the average rates that they're making.
Yeah, the technicians are the most expensive part of any organization's maintenance team or plan, I should say, right? Like the way they approach it. So it's really about taking that key resource and optimizing it. So I think an hour is conservative when you put it all together, but it's about how many maintenance techs can you leverage across your footprint, right? To the optimal amount so that you're not having to hire an additional one or two. Um, I think it all stacks up.
Yeah.
So how does the future look for you, Dave? I know that, we've talked about some exciting new things coming up, and let's dive into a little bit about where our roadmap's going. We got some time left, but we're coming up on it. So let's talk a little bit about where we're going and where we see this from both the next steps. Now that we have all this data, there's all the buzz around AI and different machine learning models and different capabilities that now just the doors that are opening because of the amount of new data that's entering and flooding into the ecosystem.
Yeah, it's exciting, and it's a bit mind-boggling. No one really knows. There's so much AI coming to every industry and every space that no one really quite often knows what to do with it or where to invest. From our perspective, it's pretty meat and potatoes. It's machine learning modules. We have a lot of data coming in. We're partnering with you, Matt, and we're partnering with the big manufacturers. And so when we talk about machine learning, we have all this information coming in from all this equipment. We understand when something breaks down, what was happening before, when it was last serviced, the speed, even the speed the equipment was at. And when you take all of this data and you put it together, it really starts to lend itself to start talking about, kind of the holy grail, if you will, which is predictive failure. When is something going to break based on symptoms that it's displaying? But this all takes data, so many of these tools, will be coming out over the years, but you're going to have to pump data into the systems to be able to work with them. And so those are areas that we're currently working in, and we're partnering with our manufacturers on it. Other areas that are really exciting in this space is camera technology. You and I've talked about this, Matt, with some of our partners taking camera views of the club and understanding, user flow, traffic within the club. But on a very basic level, getting your club set up and getting data flow happening to prepare for this in the future of these exciting opportunities is kind of what we're talking to our customers about right now.
Yeah, and I know from our perspective, 5+ years ago, we went down the path of the predictive maintenance. Everybody asks for it. Everybody wants to talk about it. And at the time, while the machine learning technology existed, we just were not able to find enough quality data to actually put it into use, to actually achieve the goal of what it was, theorized to promise. And so really excited as more and more of this data comes online and more of it's streaming and it's richer and more accurate, right? It's opening up these doors that had once been closed because you just couldn't collect enough data quick enough to put together a comprehensive data set to then do some really meaningful things with it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. I always caution, clubs that are looking at AI models and whatnot to invest, uh, to be aware of what's coming and to start to collect the data and prepare for it. But a lot of these tools are in early development, but they are coming and they're being fine-tuned and they're getting smarter and smarter as they get more and more data on board. But all of them require data.
Yeah, and for Woven, it's not even the equipment data directly. I mean, just having a system of record where you're maintaining all of your ticketing, all of your preventative maintenance, the entire life cycle history of every invoice, downtime, everything that's ever happened to that asset within your building. All of that data now with AI these days is thrown around very loosely, but the AI I talked about most recently is around large language models and how do you reason and process over all this unstructured data. And so taking your maintenance text resolution notes and taking all the photos and all the comments from your operations teams and members and in taking and synthesizing all of this down so that then next time some issue happens, right, your maintenance tech doesn't need to start from scratch,
Yeah.
right? And that's some even tactical application of this to where when something does break, you are already, if you have a system of record, you're storing all this data, you're already sitting on a treasure trove of new capabilities. And that's what we're starting to unlock within Woven in terms of an AI advisor, the ability to get a quick, like, how do I fix this kind of question answer thing going with the maintenance tech and some other cool capabilities that are coming out. So, Dave, with the time remaining, let's talk a little bit about kind of for those that are joining and watching this, where should they be thinking about next steps? Does that sound good to dive into this?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And sometimes it can seem daunting, especially if you have multiple, stores, units already, with non-connected equipment, or you don't have your assets organized. And from our perspective, we always sit down and talk to customers about a network roadmap that makes sense. I mean, it won't happen overnight. Most people don't have the bed. Well, your system's a little bit different, Matt. Getting all your assets organized and loaded up. If you have to add IoT hardware or you have to buy connected cardio equipment, it's obviously a process that can take, a couple of years as you're refreshing your equipment, to make it budget friendly. But some of the things that a lot of people may not know that they can do is that this, starting with cardio, most of the main manufacturers now with LED, it's not just premium consoles that are connected, it's their LEDs to have Wi-Fi options. And whether they're working with Ecofit or they're pulling that data into their own system, if you've got a connected piece of equipment when you order it, it's a very low cost to add it, get it on your vendor network, and you can start working with the data. So basic steps like that, communicating with us if you do want to have IoT hardware, our strength tracking, our solution, or someone else's, how we make that make sense, getting your infrastructure set up, getting a gateway or a receiver point in. But it's a process, and then you have to maintain it over time as well. So, probably starting with your assets, your current assets in the current state is a very good starting point, and that's kind of where you guys come in, Matt.
No, absolutely. It's always you need that foundational system, right? You need that system of record that is kind of the center point of your operations, and by operations, your maintenance, right? How are you tracking all that, collecting it, bringing it together? It becomes a central point to then leveraging out all future additions that are added into it. So yeah, so as we say, just can't eat the elephant in one bite, right? It's always start,
Yeah,
measure,
yeah.
continue to improve, feed that loop over and over, and it can take the most daunting. I mean, we've seen 80 club sized organizations that were still somehow, and I don't know how, running on spreadsheets and luck, and email and text messages, and we've helped move them into a systematized automated fashion. And yeah, the change pain is real, but the benefits far outweigh the pain of going through that. And then you just start layering in everything else we talked about, where you move from just having a system. Do you have a system that can start doing stuff for you, that's being fed by data, that now is directly dispatching, when it receives an error code and it realizes that that treadmill is still under warranty, it can send it directly to the servicing desk and ticketing system of that manufacturer. And when you can start realizing and you can tangibly see that you can take something that nobody ever touched, but the equipment said there was something wrong, and it was routed through, identified as still being under warranty, and then sent directly to that manufacturer's ticketing system for a tech to come out and look at it. And you realize that nobody touched that. There was no human capital spend on your side, and yet the issue got attention and resolution, right? Like that's when we start seeing light bulbs going off, right? When you can start seeing that end game, but you can't just start there, right? It's these incremental additive steps that do get you to that final place.
Yeah, there's low-hanging fruit for sure. Like for instance, say you order some connected cardio equipment from one of our partners, and then we work on an integration with you, Woven. That can get someone literally going on a refresh, or even if you have connected cardio in your clubs right now, we can activate it at a very, very low cost. One of the best parts about our partnership too, Matt, is we have independent models that we operate, but we don't charge anything for our partnership or integration. That's completely complimentary. We complement each other so well with the data utilization, what we get from manufacturers, what we're doing with Black Card and whatnot, that we offer that pipeline and the development cycle and improvements on it at it's a natural fit, so it's not being charged for.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, appreciate the time. We might have time for one or two questions. Trent, was there anything that came into the chat that we might need to address or answer? We can otherwise wrap it up.
Yeah, there were a couple pre-submitted questions here. Let me look here. So Dave just hit on the second one, which was how much does this cost from Ecofit to Woven, which is $0 for the integration piece of the things. How does your platform integrate with the vendor's metering technology, and what does the setup look like for gym operators?
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. I'll let you take that one for the connected equipment side.
Sure. Well, on the connected, I was actually going to let you take that because we're using Metering within your system for when we do maintenance, for instance, on lamp hours with one of our products, with the tanning product, or even we work with manufacturers on PM notifications and suggested recommended servicing. But that's triggered in your system for when it actually gets acted on, Matt. So I'll let you handle it.
Yeah, I mean it's done through a different integration with different equipment manufacturers, right? Some have one way, some have bi-directional, but as equipment is being, or I should say, as ticketing as being flagged, right, it's getting passed off directly into that manufacturer's ticketing system, which then they can, their process gets started, and any updates they make get pushed back into Woven, so that your internal team, be it maintenance or your operations team, can be stayed in or kept in the loop of when that service person is going to be out on site, when they resolve it, so you can verify that it's been resolved, etc.
Cool. Another question here, just to speak to it, would be: are there any unexpected benefits that gyms have seen from this combined solution beyond just the ones that you've really talked about, which are member retention and the longevity of equipment? So unexpected benefits besides those two.
Dave, if you don't mind, I'll go first. I mean, again, since Woven is a standalone product, right? It doesn't need Ecofit, and at the same time, Woven does a lot more for gym and fitness wellness, right? So it is all about your people. It's how do you communicate with your people, schedule your people. It's your back office system. So Woven can do a lot more than just facility and equipment. It is one of our primary pillars and suites within the tool and the platform. But that is where we see a lot of that unexpected benefit, is by getting where you're doing maintenance and taking it out of an island. So a lot of the times it's, if you have a system, it is just used by the maintenance department. And the operations team is kind of hands off, right? It's like, yeah, we'll submit something every once in a while, or I forget my login, I don't know how to go there. The reality is, though, is that by bringing it together, right, it's that marriage between operations and the maintenance, they need to be working together. And so a lot of that unattended benefit is that the operations team is the one that's in the club every day, right? They're seeing things a lot quicker than the maintenance tech that's only visiting maybe once a week. And creating that quick relationship where that managers or that front desk person is already inwoven doing other things for their job. They can quickly see something, say something. If the maintenance tech has a question, it can quickly be answered in the chat that everybody's using. So it's a unified approach. And that's where we see the most like unexpected benefits outside of what we already talked about on the presentation today. And Dave, if you have anything else you want to add on the Ecofit
You know what?
side?
On our end, it's actually transparency, and we work really closely with our vendor partners. And one of the things that we do now that was really, really cool is we do education quite often when new products come into the clubs, and we monitor the usage. We find that maybe they don't get adopted for not just because the members don't like it, they don't understand it. So we now have programs that we work with vendor partners when gyms are putting new equipment in, that hey, it flags that there's education required. So I mean, with a lot of the large national accounts now, we've got programs that the vendors can go in, they can do education programs based on the data coming in. So with us, it's been the transparency of the system, and everyone working with the data and not avoiding it has definitely lent, benefits to the whole process of adopting new equipment within a club, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Trent, I believe we're out of time. So Dave, once again, thank you. Trent, thank you for driving and helping us out on the back end. Dave, any closing thoughts you'd like to add?
No, just, if anyone, again, thanks everyone for your time. If anyone wants any more information or a joint demo or an individual demo on our system or what we do with Woven, I'm happy to have one of our client care specialists or myself get on and walk you through our system. I know we didn't do any, live product demos, and that's always available if anyone wants to see it in action.
Absolutely. Or they can just find us out in California next week, right, Dave? Looking forward to seeing you in real life.
Yeah, if you're watching from the We3Fit group, we'll be there. So, and
Oh,
I'll see you next week there as well, Matt. Have a safe trip out.
yeah, you too, Dave. Thank you
All
all.
right, take care all.
See
All
y'all.
right, bye.